Greetings from Wyoming. OSY Guy here, and this is my tutorial on Robocopy. I think that Robocopy is the best choice for doing backups in the Windows world. My idea of an ideal backup is a copy and paste backup. And Robocopy is a command line utility that is just a full-featured copy utility that you access from a PowerShell or from a command prompt. If you want to get some more details on it, you can just open up a PowerShell and type in Robocopy space / question mark, and you'll get lots of details. I like backing up all the backup data. I like it to go to an external hard drive, and I want that to be immediately accessible on any other healthy computer and any other operating system. Once the backup is completed, you should be able to just unplug the hard drive, bring it over to another computer, and access the files on that computer and be able to get full access to all the data. That is not really what happens when you are doing what I would call a traditional backup using a backup utility. So here's a Windows 10 computer, and I do have an external hard drive plugged into it, the D drive in this case, and I did run a traditional backup. One of the two backup utilities that's available built into Windows 10 is the Windows 7 backup, and I ran a backup of some of my data folders, and that is represented by this item right here. That's not accessible unless we right-click on that and select Restore. You have to go through several screenfuls worth of questions to get it back to the point where you could actually get access to it. So we couldn't just take this external hard drive and unplug it from this computer and take it over to another computer and get access to that data backup. So what I'm trying to say here is that if we open up my data folder and say, for instance, we want to back up these folders here, so desktop, documents, downloads, favorites, music, pictures, videos. Those are all pretty much the critical folders that ought to be backed up. Going to be used by most folks, and so they would need to be backed up. Now, if we just right-click on Documents and select Copy, and then come over to the external hard drive and then right-click and select Paste, that will produce a duplicate copy of the Documents folder, and that result would be something where we could unplug this from this computer, take it over to some other computer, and be able to access the data without any problem. That's the idea that I have behind using Robocopy. So to get this to the point where it is really convenient and easy to work with, I'm going to talk about just creating a text file. For instance, we could just call it, we could open up a notepad file, call it backup.txt, and we could build that file with information like what I'm showing you here. Now, my idea here is that you're going to create one Robocopy line for every folder that you want to back up. So in the case that I'm showing right here, where John wants to back up his documents folder and his pictures folder and his desktop folder, there are going to be 3 Robocopy lines to accomplish that. So we're going to back up the documents to an external hard drive into the documents folder there, and pictures to pictures and desktop to desktop. You're just going to have one line, one Robocopy line for all the different data folders that you want to back up. If you're going to be trying to back up, for instance, a file server that has 4 shared folders like I'm showing down here, then you're going to have one Robocopy line for projects and then another Robocopy line for marketing, management, images, and so on. That's the way that's going to work. Now the design of the Robocopy command line is going to have to be always with this syntax. You're going to start with the command, followed by a space, and then the next entry is going to be your source path, your location for the original folder that you want to back up. The destination is going to be the place where you want to back up that file to, so that'll be your external hard drive. Destination path will be here, followed by a space, and then any modifier switches will also be placed at the end there. So now I just have just a few comments here just to make sure that it's clear how either your source or your destination paths will appear. If they are local folders or they are physically on the same computer folders, then they're going to be identified with a drive letter colon backslash and then the path for that folder. If you have something on an E drive, then again the same type of thing here. But I did want to give you an example of if you are using a folder that actually is identified by a title that includes a space in the name of the folder, then you will have to enclose the entire path in quotation marks. And if you are going to try to access a shared folder that's out on the network instead, then that will be expressed with the network path instead. So you'll have double backslash the name of your computer, backslash the name of the shared folder, and if again that shared folder has a space in it, then make sure to enclose it with the quotation marks. Otherwise, you don't need to use the quotation marks if that space doesn't exist like that. And then finally, you will include your switches at the end, and I'll talk about those here in a moment. So, I have a Robocopy information.txt file here that I'll just kind of reference here, and we'll use this as a way to build our Robocopy statements that will then go into a blank text file. So again, you see that I'm showing the command here, and then the source file or the source folder is here, the destination folder is here, and then the first switch that shows up is the mirror switch. And so I want to kind of explain that just a little bit. I think this is the most powerful of the switches that you can use in the Robocopy world. If you use /mirror, standing for mirror, this will produce identical duplicate folder. So if you do the mirror command on your documents folder going to another external drive, then that folder will be completely duplicated. All the subfolders inside of it, all the files will be all duplicated. After the first time you run Robocopy, the second time that you run Robocopy, you will not be recopying every single folder and every single file. You will only be copying the new or changed files and folders. Everything else will just be left untouched, so you're not going to continue to re-back up the stuff that hasn't changed. Also, with the mirror switch, you end up with, let me give you this example. If you have gone into your pictures folder after you've run a Robocopy command, you go into your original pictures folder and you locate several pictures that were blurry or were duplicates or whatever, so you decided to delete those. And then later on you run your Robocopy again, you will be deleting those deleted files in the destination as well. So that's the mirror command is an absolute duplicate of your original. So just so you know how that works. And of course, the advantage here is simply that once you run a Robocopy command on a large data folder, let's say that it takes a half an hour to transfer all that data and get it copied over. The next time you run Robocopy, it will certainly take less time because it's not going to try to reduplicate the stuff that already exists. It's only going to change what is new or has been changed. So pretty cool. Now I have a series of 3 switches after that I want to talk about. MT, R, and W. The MT is the multi-thread switch, which I think of all 3 of these items as being time saver switches. The idea behind the multi-thread is if you put that in there, then by default it will be running a total of 8 threads, which means that, as an example, if Robocopy runs up against a pretty large data file that's going to take a while to copy, it's not going to be stalled out while it finishes that one data file. It will continue and copy other files and complete those while it's working on the big file. So I just think that's a more efficient way to have Robocopy run. Now I also have a reference here to the retries command, and I'm showing /r:5, meaning 5 retries. The default, now I copied this from the Robocopy / the actual data that shows up says this, that Robocopy is going to continue to try to try as many times as 1,000,000 times to try to copy a particular file. If that file fails, it's going to keep going for 1,000,000 tries. And so I don't like that idea. I decided that if we have a file that is corrupted and is not going to complete, then let's just give it a total of 5 retries, and that's it. And then the W time is the wait time, which I've identified there as 15. Those are of course configurable by you, so you can choose whatever time you want there. But this setting would say that if the first try doesn't work, then try again 15 seconds later, and then try 15 seconds later again, for a total of 5 tries. Then after that, I'm showing these switches right here, and those are log switches. So we'll just take a look back over here. The first 3 switches that I just talked about there are just going to be time savers, but these no switches are telling Robocopy to not report certain things. This will reduce your log file size if you do all of these. So these are the descriptions. The NS stands for no file sizes, NC for no class reported, and NFL for no file list, NDL for no directory list, and NP for no progress. The problem that I've run across in Robocopy is that if you decide to turn on the log switch, you will get a really prolific log. It will have too much data in it in my mind, and so I do like to have summary data that shows up. And so when I turn on the log switch, I like to have all of these switches in place that will keep it so that it will be a summary log only. And you turn on that log capability by putting in this switch here that is showing as /log plus. The log plus is an append version of log, in that if you just type in /log by itself, then you are going to replace the log file every time you run Robocopy. And I didn't want that to happen. Like I say, I'd like to have summary data or summary information that shows up and tells me what was accomplished and what was not accomplished. But if I'm running it daily, if I'm running the Robocopy daily, I want to keep adding the data every day at the bottom of that file. So that's why I'm using the log plus version instead of just the log. And then right after that, it shows what folder I've decided to create to put this in. So I do have to go into my C drive and type in and create an rlogs folder. And then the first time I run Robocopy, there will be nothing inside that folder. So that will create the log.txt file. And then the next time you run it, it will just add to that log file at the bottom of the file. So just a very nice way to have summary information. So if we kind of build that all and set that up so that it will work, it's going to be somewhat like this. So I'm showing that I'm going to try to set up a text file that's going to back up my documents folder and my downloads folder and my pictures folder, and copy them over to that external hard drive with these switches. And every time I do another line, I just copy and paste the switches in, because it's always going to be the same set of switches in every case. So before we actually build that text file, we'll just kind of run a check here and see if this works. So I'll use the copy command, and we will go to a PowerShell, and then I'll do paste, and then I'll press the enter key, and that shows that I'm creating an rlogs, or in the rlogs folder I have placed log.txt. So now that's, as soon as that's done, we're back over to just a regular command prompt here. That has completed. So I'll just exit out of here, and then we'll take a look at my rlogs folder. And here's the log.txt file that just got made. So I'll just double click that and take a look at it. This is the way it looks. It gives you the first section of it is just going to say, here are the commands that I'm running, and where the source is, where the destination is. And then in the next section, it's just going to show what was accomplished. So there were 42 directories that were copied, 120 files that were copied. It took a total of 38 seconds plus 4 seconds. So that's how that worked. And so we'll just leave that log file at this point just as it is, and then we'll start the process of actually creating the text file that I was talking about. So first thing I want to do is right click out here and just say new text document, and we'll call it backup.txt. Sounds good. And then I will let's see, I'll double click it so that we can get this placed, so I can kind of see both the documents here. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste this and use the copy command, come over here to our fresh document and paste. And then we will just say save. Now, the next thing I'll want to do is save this as a batch file. So I'll do a save as. And we'll change the save as type to all documents. And then we will call it .bat. leave it out on the desktop, hit the save command, and so now here's the backup.txt, but now here is the executable version of that, the bat file, and so that's ready to go. So now to run this manually, I always tell my customers, if I set this up for them like this, I just say make sure to right click on the backup.bat file and then select run as administrator, and then we'll just say yes to give it permission, and it will go through each of the folders that we included in there. So and it went really fast through documents because we already did that before. And now we're looking at downloads. That one's got quite a bit of stuff in it. I've got an install file for Phoenix RC, which is a remote control airplane simulator program, which is really cool, but it's kind of large, so it takes a while to get through that. And then as soon as it gets through that, then it will go to the photos, or the pictures file, I should say, and we'll be able to see that result. There, okay, we're done. Now, let me go back over to Passport. And there are those folders. So there's documents, there's download, there's pictures. So we have accomplished the backup very easily. So I'll close that. I'll close that. And we'll also we'll go back and take a look at that rlogs folder again. And double click on log.txt. Now this was the very first entry that's showing up right there. So as we scroll down, now here's the documents again, and the details shows that everything that we copied before was skipped this time because we didn't, obviously it was already done, didn't make any changes. And here's the downloads folder, and there's the amount of files and folders that were copied, and the pictures folder. All those are taken care of there. So this is the slide that just tells you that, make sure to right click manually on your backup.bat file. If you want to create a scheduled task, then you'll just want to do task scheduler over here. So we'll just say task scheduler. There we go. And all you're looking for here is a new task. So we'll say create task, and you can just call it backup. And now you'll want to set this up. It depends on the computer's situation, but for instance, if it's a server or something like that, or if it's going to be run at night and the person is not going to be there, then you'll want to make sure to run this, whether the person is logged in or not. Run with highest privileges. Make sure that this will run with the administrator privileges, and you'll want to set up a trigger here, and that's just going to be the time. So we'll say new trigger, and we'll say daily. Let's say that this is going to be 10 o'clock. Whoops. PM. It's going to run daily, and we say OK. Then for the actions section, you're just going to say new action, and it's going to be start a program. That's what you're looking for. And so you just browse for that item called backup.batch.bat, select open, and then OK, and then it's set to go. And that is the scheduled version of this backup. And that is my quick tutorial on doing backups with Robocopy. Thanks for watching. This was your favorite OSY guy from Wyoming. There's a picture of Devil's Tower. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.